What's up, everybody? Sparrow with a Gun here from Sleepless Nights with another episode on the Space Engineers Inspiration series. I know, it's kind of weird, right? We have an episode week to week, back to back. It's crazy. So yeah, we're starting things off today with something a little bit different. We're doing a ground vehicle, and that's partially because I've been kind of into ground vehicles at the moment. I've been working on trying to build one for my survival, so I saw this one and thought, this is pretty cool. So this is the Staghound. It is a long-distance exploration vehicle. The description does warn against using it in any kind of combative type situation because it's fairly lightly armored, and it has like a Gatling turret up here obviously, but it's not really set up for a lot of firepower. However, this is a really cool design. Now, some of this is vanilla, by the way, fully vanilla build. Some of this comes from it being some of the new blocks that have been added for small grids, particularly windows and the new flight seats, like you just saw my highlight pickup. That's probably going to help out small ship grids in general, but rovers and stuff as well, because you can make a little bit of a bigger vehicle and then encase it in glass for a cockpit and stuff like that. And I think there's been some other armor blocks, not armor blocks, but like the ladders and some other blocks and things that have been added to the game recently, or at least recent to me, but within the last year of patches and whatnot, that are probably going to help out small grids for, like I said, for ships in general, but particularly rovers and stuff will have an easier time too. The only thing that I'm not a terribly big fan, and look at the ladders, I know, it's so great. The only thing I'm not a terribly big fan about with small grid ships is that we still don't have small grid variants for every single production block, which is a little bit of a pet peeve of mine, I suppose. This is pretty cool, though. We've got an actual reversible blast door and stuff. That's cool. Let's see. I do also like... Okay, cool. So you can make this without... Woo! What happened to my view? That was funny. You can actually make this without, hitting the wrong buttons, without the jetpack, which is always good on a ground vehicle. Well, actually for an atmospheric vehicle, I personally, this is just me, I kind of feel like every atmospheric vehicle should have the ability to get onto a ship without a jetpack. Mainly because there's no guarantee that you'll have hydrogen if you're, you know, in the on the atmosphere of a planet. At least out in space you can kind of like float around, so I could see it maybe that you could have a access hatch on top or something. Overall, I really like the look of the ship. We do have a survival kit in here, so I believe that will allow you to respawn. I haven't tested that, but I've read that a couple places. We've got a couple little bunk bed going on here, which is pretty cool. A little cramped, but I think that's kind of the charm to some of these small grids, is that things are a little cozy kind of thing. Man, I'm rusty. Oxygen generator? Oxygen tank. I knew it had to do with oxygen. Alright, so we got an oxygen tank there. Admittedly, well, I guess you could use this in a non-atmospheric, like a moon rover, because I was going to say, I'm not really sure why you would need an an oxygen tank if you're in an atmosphere, but there's nothing on the description of the ship that actually says it has to be in an atmosphere, so you could take this as a moon rover, and then you would, I mean, most of us would want to still be able to breathe. Most of us. Some, you know, it's your preference, but whatever floats your boat. Hydrogen tank, so that's good. It'll help you refill your jetpack and all that good stuff. We've got a conveyor junction to connect everything up. Probably we've got a large container here that's going to the turret. I'm assuming, I can't really tell, but I'm assuming that everything is actually piped up through these back plates and stuff. I gotta admit, though, this is some really good use of the half blocks and just bends and curves in general. Like you see this kind of area here where it's using half blocks and it's just kind of bulged a little bit, but it's kind of got this little arc, right? It's not like just a knot in the wall or something. It looks more like a pipe. and it kind of curves around here and stuff. So this is the base of the 2x1 ramps, and then you got half slopes covering that, and then half blocks going to this with half slopes on the side. So very useful technique, pretty cool. And they've got the half slopes in the corners as well to give it that nice rounded look. I mean, I suppose you could have done like half slopes here as well to complete the curved edge, but this ties into it, so it looks okay. Like, that doesn't really hurt it or anything. And I like these little cross beams. They're almost like supports. Even though, you know, Space Engineers doesn't really have any kind of... Well, I don't think it has any kind of structural integrity. That's medieval engineers and, like, Conan Exiles and stuff like that. But the Space Engineers I don't think ever really had... Which is kind of odd, in my opinion. Only because they did it in Medieval Engineers, which is the same company. So I'm kind of surprised that never... made it into the game, though admittedly I don't think it needs it. I've never really seen any place where in terms of space where you're like, you know, this needs some structural integrity right here. Most of the builds on the workshop and stuff kind of like this, they had their own cross support beams anyway for looks, so nothing ever really looks off. This is kind of interesting. What is this block? Okay, a medium cargo container with a hydrogen engine. Okay, I haven't actually seen these used yet. So, that's why there's a hydrogen tank. I thought it was just for jetpacks. Alright. So basically, for those of you like me that are new to all of this new stuff, this is, I'm assuming, hooked up to the rest of the system, and you've got ice in here, which goes into the hydrogen engine and produces power as it converts hydrogen. At least that's my understanding. Either that, or the ice comes out of there, goes into... Wait a minute. There's got to be a converter there, doesn't it? Hydrogen engine converts hydrogen into power, has its own internal hydrogen tank, but where's the converter? That's just an oxygen tank. I don't see a generator. It's got to be in here somewhere. It's probably, like, under... here somewhere. I can kind of see a few other blocks in there. So I'm guessing it's connected in here somewhere, and you've got like the hydrogen generator somewhere. Because the ice goes into the generator, makes hydrogen, obviously. It's stored in the oxygen and hydrogen tanks, or rather the oxygen's there, hydrogen. You know what I mean. And then it goes to the hydrogen engine, which powers the ship. So this is actually the first build that I've seen that actually uses what looks to be exclusively the hydrogen engine to power it, which is pretty cool. Also, we've got the new control seats for small grids, which look awesome, by the way. At first, when I saw the screenshots of this in the workshop, I thought it was a modded build, and then I was like, no, the title says it's vanilla. How's that work? And it's because we've actually got some cool new blocks. So, let's check this out. We got a handbrake. This says wheels, but I'm guessing that is maybe friction level or something. I can't really tell from the percentage there. Switch lock, spotlights, hydrogen engine off. That's probably going to be the top speed. I actually watched a couple tutorials on rovers. Again, I'm trying to build one myself, so I'm kind of aware of what some of these do. Just for kicks and giggles, let me just check. What is it? 64. Power. Okay, so the power supplied to propulsion is set to 64%. And I'm not 100% sure. I'm still really rusty and unfamiliar with rover terminology, but I believe that means you can't consume more than 64% of the power from the grid to propulsion. I believe is what that means. I'm not 100% sure on that, so don't quote me. You guys are going to quote me, aren't you? Oh, there's a connector up there. That's what it was. I thought it was connected to the turret, but the turret's over on the right. So that piping going up from the large grid container is actually going to the connector on top for, I'm guessing, like a mining ship or something. I guess whatever you'd want to put on there. Alrighty, so let's take her for a test drive. Was there any other controls? No. So let's turn the handbrake off. And it kind of looks cool. It looks like an APC or an RV or something like that. It's actually really neat looking. It moves really nice. You can tell by the speed down there at the bottom. that it's moving along pretty quick. And it seems pretty stable, like I'm not really getting it tipping over and anything. And I'm also not in the flattest area of the map. I mean, it's a pretty flat area. I picked it so that I could use it for showcases, but it's still actually kind of hilly. And we're not really flipping or anything, so all in all, I'd say this is a really good rover build. My only concern would be if you were using this in a survival build. Oh! Wait a minute. I see a vent there. I wonder if that's how they're doing... Oh, wait, no, that wouldn't produce hydrogen. Never mind. I was going to say maybe they don't have a generator on it. Maybe they have a vent, but that would only pull in oxygen. Anyway, I digress. The only thing that I'm not sure about is the lack of assemblers, refinery, stuff like that. Again, I don't think you can... Well, the survival kit does have a basic assembler in it, and you could mine stone. So yeah, I guess you could kind of make do with everything you needed for the most part, as long as you had a source of ice. So that's pretty cool. I'm not used to the survival kit. I keep thinking, you know, that it needs some kind of assembler refinery setup, and I forget that the survival kit can kind of do the basics of both. So the survival kit is basically your processing facility on this ship, which is pretty cool, actually. It would make a really good, like, moon rover or land explorer, so I kind of like it. It's really neat. With that, let's move on to the next one. Alrighty, so next up we have the Crimson Charmer. Now, this one I honestly picked because it kind of reminded me a little bit of like the Boba Fett Slave 1 type ship, and I thought it looked pretty cool. But this is a kind of, from what I'm gathering from the description, kind of a middle-of-the-road type jack-of-all-trades kind of ship, where it can be a hauling type vessel. It can get in and out of little skirmishes here and there. It has enough teeth that it can fight its way out of stuff. It's maneuverable. It's kind of got all the different things you need in it. So it's kind of an all-around, I would say kind of a jack-of-all-trades type ship from the looks of things. I do like this. This is kind of cool that it's got a ladder right there rather than some kind of just hatch or something. That's kind of cool. Some of this stuff is exposed, which is cool for aesthetics. I'm not sure I'd want to take too many shells to it, though, because that might, like, you might lose your refinery and oxygen stuff and things if somebody hits you in the back too much. But yeah, overall, I really like the look of the ship, particularly this front area. This really I don't know why, but it really reminds me of kind of the Slave 1 kind of cockpit design. Probably this kind of cylindrical shape with then the two guns on the side. That's probably where I'm getting that from, more than likely. It's also got a couple of rocket pods, it looks like, or at least one. And then it's got 2 Gatling turrets. So the weaponry is kind of spread out. But yeah, I think it would be pretty effective. Oh, there's also... What is this? Oh, this is a little drone that it has, which is pretty cool. It looks like a mining type drone. But yeah, and I believe the ship can also transfer between atmospheres is one of the features that's listed. It also has a cargo bay for hauling contracts, which I've yet to get into contract stuff in my Let's Play thing, so I'm looking forward to that and seeing how that plays into things. So we got this cool airlock mood light kind of thing, although unless there's a depressurization somewhere. So that's kind of interesting. It's not really got an airlock per se from the looks of things. Because unless this has an airlock up here, I'd be a little surprised if it didn't, actually. Let's take a look around. Yeah, okay, so it kind of does. That area down there, this whole area is kind of the pressurized, depressurized kind of thing. So that's cool. That's different. Most of the time you see it very, like, doors right next to each other, and this actually has, like, a ladder in between. So that's kind of cool. I like the uniqueness of this ship design. It's pretty cool. Like, it's something a little different. And we've got... And again, I believe this is a vanilla build, so these are just new blocks, which look really awesome. I love these new control seats. That's really cool. Alright, so, and I think some of the screens here are probably just custom textures, because that's like the actual layout of the ship, I believe. Not... I guess that's supposed to be a really low table. I was like, I'm not really sure what that's supposed to be, but then I saw the plate. So I'm thinking this is supposed to be like a really, really low table, maybe? Let's see, this is probably a shower. Now this is not using the new paid DLC stuff, because otherwise you would have like a shower block and a table block and stuff. So that's something to keep in mind, because you know, for some of you that don't actually have the DLC, this would be a pretty cool ship to use, because it's got all the bells and whistles from what it looks like, but you wouldn't actually have to have the decorative DLC to run it, so that's pretty cool. Let's see, what does this button do? Probably lights? Yeah. Alright. And then we have this, honestly, this reminds me of my ships on No Man's Sky, where I've just got like cargo blocks all right next to each other. But it's cool that they're labeled. Like this says equipment, ammunition, and then miscellaneous cargo, I'm guessing. Cargo. So that's pretty cool. And I believe it is running a couple of the LCD scripts, like the M-Master one, I think. Maybe. And I think there's a couple of Whiplash's scripts in here, but I don't remember which ones they were. So the only thing that I'm noticing here is it does seem to have all the stuff, like you noticed on the outside it has a refinery out the back, so I'm assuming there's an assembler somewhere, you know, stuff like that. And we've got the medical room for respawning. The only thing is if you're looking for kind of a decorative look on the interior, a more roomy, like you've got rooms and all this kind of stuff, it doesn't really have a lot of that. It does almost, again, I'm not sure if the builder intended to do this or not, but it does kind of remind me of the Slave 1 type setup of this would probably be where you'd store your cargo, you know, like your carbonite bounties, and then you got a couple cryo chambers for yourself, a contract thing, a table, med room, shower, bed, you know, like it's kind of like a one-person bounty hunting almost contractor ship type thing, so that's kind of interesting. We've got forward, lower, left, and right cameras, up, down, and back, gyroscope override controls. I'm not really sure what that is for. Landing gears, and then we've got hydrogen thrusters, atmospheric thrusters, and ions. And backward hydrogen thrusters, atmospheric. Now these are grayed out, so I'm wondering if these were here before and now they're not named that or something. We've got a remote control, that's autopilot, Gatling turrets, rocket launchers, jump drive, you know, jump, decrease and increase your distance, forward view, connectors for toggling on and off, and switch lock, back, same thing, drone dock, okay, and that's the front connector. So yeah, that's pretty straightforward. Let's take her for a test flight. Now we don't have the hydrogen thrusters on, so if we turn those on we get an extra boost, but without them, let's just play around without them for a second. And honestly, without them, it still moves pretty good. It accelerates and decelerates a little sluggish, but the turning and everything is still really good. So I'm assuming that if we turn on our hydrogen thruster, then we're really going to move. Again, the gyroscope speed is a little bit on the... It's not unresponsive by any stretch. It's just a little bit on the slower side. It's not like, you know, whipping around everywhere. But again, this isn't like a fighter. It's more of a small... Probably a small end of the Corvette scale would be my guess. Overall, I think it's designed really well, though. So that's it for this one. Let's move on to the last one. Alrighty, and last but not least, we have the Stinger Mantis. Now, for those of you that don't know, this is the ship used in the new Star Wars game Jedi Fallen Order. And actually, it looks pretty frickin' accurate. And there are only a couple of mods. There's the Star Wars weapon mods, which are optional, but there is a repulsor engine mod, which I'm guessing is these guys back here, which, if you read in the description, it specifies that basically you could do it without them, but you'd have to basically rip out a part of the ship and recreate it to compensate for the thruster controls and stuff, I guess, from what the mod author was, or the builder was saying. So that's the only tricky part. For those of you that don't like modded ships, you would have to include a couple of mods, but all in all, I'm actually very surprised at how accurate this build looks compared to the actual game, considering that there's no extra modded blocks and stuff. That's the crazy part to me, because this actually looks pretty darn legit. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Now, I was gonna say the entrance should be over here, so that's pretty cool. The cockpit looks about right and everything too. It looks really cool, actually. I'm not gonna lie, it looks really neat. There's a lot of detail that went into this, because yeah, it looks probably as close as you're gonna get to the actual ship in Space Engineers. So hats off to the builder, because this is pretty intense. Also, the wings here can actually spin, because they can spin in the game. You see it in cinematics and stuff like that. Now, the only thing, and this is a very, very minor critique here, just comparing to the original game, I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe in the actual game that this top wing and the bottom one, I thought, are the same. Like, they're all one blade. And so I believe it can actually spin 360 degrees. I could be wrong, because I haven't played the game in a minute, but that would be the only thing that to me stands out, as it may possibly not be accurate, but it could be. I'm not really sure. There's still a ton to this ship that looks really, really cool, though. Obviously, we've got a cool little hangar here. I'm actually really impressed with how... Wow, like, for those of you that have played the game, you know how accurate this looks. This is kind of intense at how close this actually resembles the real thing. It's pretty cool. Oh, good lord, they still haven't fixed the frickin' lock boots yet, apparently. Yeah, this is really cool. Like, this would be the kitchen area. This is Grease's terrarium. Yeah, like, this is really well done. I'm very impressed with this. And we've even got the holo table, the galaxy map area. Let's check the bridge here. So yeah, this is like your comm station, pilot, co-pilot. This is really well done. I do apologize for the friggin' lock boots or whatever. It doesn't look like there's gravity on the ship at the moment. So there's that. So that's probably why I'm bouncing around everywhere, because my boots are trying to lock to everything. The only thing, I believe they said it was because they had to make room for the wings and the thruster compartments and all that stuff, is right about here. Like, this part looks pretty close. This is like the crew quarters, and I think it's either right about here or past where this would be is where there's meditation spot, and where there's like the engine room, which the description does say they had to leave out because of the thrusters and wing components and all that. It just wouldn't work for the guts. But in the game, Fallen Order, you would go back here and there's a small engine room, and it's got a bench where you can customize your lightsaber. So that's the only part they're really missing here, and it was to keep the wing blade and thrusters all intact. But the rest of this looks totally on point. I'm very impressed with this, I'm not gonna lie. Maybe even more so because of the lack of modded blocks. Like, we've got the thrusters and the weapons. That's pretty much it. The rest of this is all legit vanilla Space Engineers, which I'm thoroughly impressed about. I even like that. Oh my gosh, they really need to fix the detection thing for the locking. Like, if I'm here, why do I want to lock onto this and walk up the wall? Why do I want to do this? Sorry. little rant there. Rant over. I do like this too, because this is kind of the co-pilot seat in the game. So you've got kind of the regular passenger seat with some screens, and then the actual control seat where Grease pilots the ship from is actually like a control seat, so that's pretty cool. Alright, we've got the laser cannons, obviously. We've got dorsal and ventral wing. Now, these are the locks, which according to the description, so there's your ramp controls. and the engine light. So yeah, you unlock these, and then momentum will swing the wings around, which is a really cool thing because that is kind of how it looks like it does when it's flying. I don't know if in the actual game if it's supposed to be the momentum that's moving the wings, or if it's actually supposed to be like a stabilizer. But in Space Engineers here, it's a pretty cool recreation of how to make it look like it's spinning. We've got the landing gears for all, and then locks, I believe, for all of these. Or is this the locks? These are the locks, rotor locks. So this is all, and this is left, mid, and right, and then you can lock them with these. So basically, according to the description, you'll click one of these, or the all button, or you'll do them individually, and then you'll lock the landing gears that you want to keep basically stationary kind of thing. So that's pretty cool that they've actually got the retractable landing gears and stuff. Alright, let's take her for a test flight. So I'm just going to try it first without, oh wow, it doesn't, I need to spawn an asteroid or something in when I'm doing these space ones, because you really have to watch the speedometer for acceleration. This is fast. This is a fast ship. It gets up to 100 meters per second really quick, probably due to the modded thrusters, but still, that's pretty impressive how quickly it accelerates and decelerates. So for guns, oh, that's so much fun. I mean, what better Space Engineers mod is there than Star Wars weapons? Okay, there's a lot. I'm just saying, it's really cool. Alright, now let's test out the wings. So when we get to, I want to get to a stop. We'll unlock the wings, which is the bottom and the top part here. And they should, okay. That's pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. That's pretty cool. Alright, now the only thing is I accidentally messed that up a little bit by bouncing it. Let's see if I can bounce it back. I mean, I could always just lock the ventral and then, whoop, what happened? That should be the dorsal lock. Okay, well now it's locked. That's weird. Alright, so if I unlock it, maybe it had locked, but I was still moving, possibly? Then we lock them. Alright, there we go. That's better. But yeah, so as long as you don't do like a full 360 or whatever, since they only have about a 180-degree arc, you can actually like unlock both of these, and then when you move them, you can lock them again, and then that keeps them in. That's so cool. That is really well done. I like that. That's really neat. Alright, and then let's test out the landing gear. So we got one, should extract them all. Okay, so that's the only thing. I'm not sure where the wings need to be for the landing gears to actually extend properly. Unless, let me try one of these. Nope, that just retracts them individually. That's what I thought. Okay, so yeah, I think, let me try something real quick. So let's keep that fin there. Let's unlock this one. Okay, so that moves that, and that brings that up. So that's the only thing I'm not too sure about. Okay, I got a better idea. Let's pull these all back in. I probably have to clear them first. Alright, let's try it this way. Oh, I need to rotate and not move it that way. Okay. So if we get this wing at its kind of lock position, and lock that one, let's keep rolling and lock that one. So that should be kind of similar to, actually, I can't make that go further over. Let's say that's kind of something. Now, this is the cool part about the way that they designed this ship. If you want the fin to stay up, which is technically, I believe, how it looks in the game, you could do like this, and get it straight and then locked, but that thruster on the back is still locked. So that's really actually pretty cool. And again, I don't remember. This may be 100% accurate, that it may only go 180-degree arc. I just thought I saw it spin around the whole ship at one point, but it may not be. So now if we do the landing gears, that's better. And then we can lock all of those, and then you would land, type of thing. Now, I don't know if these are actually landing gears or if they're for show. Either way, it's pretty freaking cool. So yeah, really, really like this ship. I think it was very well done, very well thought out, and is really, really accurate to the game. In all honesty, probably the most accurate you're going to get out of Space Engineers in terms of recreating a ship like this. It's really, really cool. I don't know why that's stuck on the landing gear somehow. Promise it wasn't my fault. Probably was. Just saying. Whoop. Something did not... Not my fault! I don't do this on purpose. There it goes. It just didn't go in all the way, I guess. Alright, and then like that. And booyah, we're back to flying. So that's really, really cool. I like it. It's really neat how they actually got all the functionality into the ship. Anyways, that's going to do it for us for this episode. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, and I will see you all next time. Peace.